Hello fellow audio nerds, I'm Steph and this is Major Hi-Fi. I get the question all the time of whether or not Bluetooth headphones are worse than wired headphones, and the truth of the matter is that answer is complicated for a few reasons, and it really depends so much on your own personal situation, really. So this week I want to get into Bluetooth a little bit, explain what it is in the first place, and the different codecs that exist for Bluetooth, your different options, and then try and answer the question of whether or not Bluetooth is right for you. Alright, so let's get into it. What's the deal with Bluetooth headphones? In short, Bluetooth is an ultra-high frequency radio technology standard, and it can send data over short distances. And of course, in the case of the audiophile and headphones, it can send a digital audio file over a short distance. So, for example, from your phone to your headphones. And it can also send data back and forth, not just one way. So when you raise the volume on, your headphones, it can raise the volume on your phone. And additionally, it doesn't require a direct line of sight because it's radio waves, as opposed to something like infrared waves. And that's sort of how the remote control for your television works, for example. You have to be right in line with it or else it just won't work. That's not the case for Bluetooth, which makes it a really sort of convenient technology for headphones. Now, the range of frequencies for Bluetooth is 2,402 to 2,480 megahertz. The reason this is worth noting is because that's not a huge range of frequencies. That's about 79 frequencies, and it sort of forces this question: how do Bluetooth devices not interfere with each other? Imagine you're on a mega bus or something, and there are 80 other people on that bus all wearing Bluetooth headsets. Would they interfere with each other? And the answer to that question is no, because of a super cool technology that Bluetooth uses. The technology is spread spectrum frequency hopping, and it basically, on a regular basis, switches randomly between all of the frequencies in the Bluetooth spectrum. So the devices hop from one to another totally randomly, and this happens 1,600 times a second. The odds that two of these devices are going to be on the same frequency at any given point, it might happen, but it will be for such a short duration, such a short, fraction of a second that you wouldn't even notice it. Now, Bluetooth isn't a remarkably old technology. It was brought to the market in 1998, 1999. So a lot of audiophiles who were alive back then and adults back then might have a kind of skewed opinion of Bluetooth, because honestly, those first versions of Bluetooth, while kind of remarkable in the fact that they were new and revolutionary for the time, worked really poorly, and they didn't sound good, and they didn't perform well. But the differences between those first versions of Bluetooth and the Bluetooth that we have now the capabilities are very different. It's much more developed now. So I actually want to go through some of the Bluetooth codecs and explain sort of what you can expect from Bluetooth these days, because I think a lot of people write it off without understanding really how good it actually is. So the first sort of versions of Bluetooth could only send data at about 720 kilobits per second, which is not very much. Fast forward to 2010, Bluetooth high speed, which was introduced in Bluetooth version 3 but is used kind of throughout now with 4.1, and 4.2. Now it does 24 megabits per second. So basically, the rate of transfer is remarkably faster now. Additionally, one other really important thing that Bluetooth 4 kind of brought to the table was this Bluetooth low energy sort of functionality, which basically it requires way less power to actually use Bluetooth. Then in 2013, Bluetooth 4.1 came out, and Bluetooth 4.1 kind of fixed some issues, because with version 4, there was issues with actually interference between Bluetooth and the LTE sort of like internet that we use with our phones, right? There was this weird interference issue that was happening, so Bluetooth 4.1 fixed that. And it also sort of made data transfer just more efficient in general. Then version 4.2, honestly, there's not a huge difference between 4.1 and 4.2. However, in 4.2, they did improve the privacy functions of it. It was just like a little bit more safe to use, and it's also a little bit faster. Which brings us to Bluetooth 5. Now, Bluetooth 5 has not been widely supported yet, but it will be, and I'm really excited for it actually, because it has some huge improvements from 4.2. The first one is just the transfer speed is ridiculously fast, so downloading things, will just be way faster. It basically doubles the speed. And additionally, the other really cool thing about it is that the range of the Bluetooth is way longer. Basically, the other versions I mentioned, 4.0, 4.1, 4.2, all of these have about 10 meters or 30 feet of range before it starts sort of breaking up. And Bluetooth 5 has way longer. It's like 4 times that amount. But outside of these Bluetooth codecs, there are a couple other wireless ways to wirelessly connect, and that also were made specifically with audio in mind. This is aptX and LDAC. So aptX was originally developed to work in recording studios, a lot of times voiceover studios. And it worked in coordination with something called ISDN, which is basically a technology that allows, for example, a studio in LA can have a voiceover actor, and a studio in New York can LA can call into New York, and they can record that artist over that ISDN line with super high quality. So aptX was sort of used in that sort of scenario. But then it was eventually sort of picked up by the audiophile developers, and it works really similarly as Bluetooth, but instead of keeping the file size sort of the same the whole time, it first actually shrinks the file size, compresses it, and then sends it along, so you basically can fit like more information down the stream, and as a result, you actually can have like more accurate sounding, basically CD quality transfers. And LDAC is really similar also to aptX, but this is Sony's own sort of development. So a lot of Sony products support this, and but the really interesting thing is that apparently I've actually don't have a lot of experience with LDAC, but apparently it sounds really good, and other devices now are starting to support it as well. So not just Sony products. So I thought that was pretty interesting actually, that other devices are going ahead and adopting and supporting this LDAC technology, which apparently sounds really great. So how do each of these codecs sound, and which one is right for you? Are any of them right for you? I do have an opinion on this, and I sort of think of it as analogous to considering whether or not you should use MP3s or FLAC files, On one hand, MP3s are a smaller file. They don't sound as good as a FLAC, but they definitely get the point across of the song, and they're really convenient. You can fit more songs on them, and blah, blah, blah. You know what an MP3 is. I sort of think of the MP3 as sort of like Bluetooth, where if you're using your headphones for commuting, going to the gym, basically being in an environment where it's sort of noisy anyway, and you're not focusing totally on the music, you're just sort of focusing on functioning in the world and stuff, I think the Bluetooth is an awesome option. and there are really great headphones that will be a way better option for you than having, you know, something tethered and wired to your person. That said, the audio quality is not as good, and I think that if you were to sit down in a really quiet environment where you're really focusing on the music, you would be able to hear that, and you'd be kind of bummed out by the Bluetooth. As for aptX, why might someone use aptX over wired or aptX over Bluetooth? I would recommend aptX for somebody who is most of the time sitting in a pretty quiet environment, but occasionally needs to get up and kind of interact with other people. Maybe I would recommend it for someone who takes very long trips, like on a long train ride or something, a long bus ride, something where it's generally pretty quiet over the course of the commute. But that said, it still requires these moments of action. The thing to keep in mind, though, is that it does sound better than Bluetooth. I hear a difference. You hear more sort of a dynamic range, a better transient response. That said, you also need a device that will support it. So not all phones support aptX, and it might require an additional sort of investment, investing in a player or something like that that will support the aptX codec. And lastly, wired. If you're sitting at home and you're in a really quiet environment and you're really able to focus on the music, then I recommend going wired. It's got the highest resolution, it's going to sound the best for sure, and I think that you'll be able to hear that difference if you go wired, and you'll enjoy it more. That said, I think that kind of all of these different listening formats are, hey Bobo, are really sort of useful in different situations, and I think that's why a lot of people collect headphones, or they have more than one pair of headphones for different situations. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful, and thank you so much for watching. The subject definitely gets really deep, so if you have any insights that I missed, or that some information you'd like to share about Bluetooth, aptX, LDAC, any of that stuff, please feel free to leave a comment down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and for more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Alright everybody, see you next time. Wave, Bobo. He's really sleepy. Okay, bye.